This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater, joined by a returning guest out of Winter Garden, Florida, Dave Buckles, who is the founder of Paradox Consultants Group. And he's been on before because in his previous work, he was head of school or president, which he'll dive into in here just a little bit to his background of a school up in the Winter Garden area in Florida. And he is quite the education expert, I'd like to say. His background, he's taken a school and grown it and made it very, very successful. And now he's doing that to help other schools do the same thing with their schools. And so, great friend. We have the same haircut, the same barber. He's a great looking guy, and we're going to have some fun today on this conversation. But before I steal any thunder away from him, I'll pass it off to him to introduce himself. So, Dave, welcome back to the podcast today.
Hey, Mitchell, thanks for having me. Correction, though, I'm not an educational expert, right? I'm just someone who loves leading people, and it happens to be in the educational space. The people I lead are the experts.
There we go. Good deal, man. Well, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for the correction there. I just learned so much from you in this space that's what I put in my head for who you are. And so, before we dive in, I like to start with the same question, which I've asked you this recently, so I get to ask you again. But for those listening, maybe they didn't listen to the other ones with you. If I was to go visit you, which is only about 2 hours-ish north of where I'm at here, what would you say, Mitchell, you need to eat this and do this to experience Winter Garden, or maybe just somewhere nearby for where you were at?
Gotcha. So if you come up on the weekend, right, Winter Garden is known for its farmers market. Really cool little area. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of people on a Saturday travel. There's actually people who come and staycation in our little town and our little historic hotel just to experience that farmer's market on the weekend. And then we have this place called the marketplace, which is this long, narrow building with these 20-foot wide, 30-foot wide businesses, all food related, right? And really a cool place. So you can go get you some chicken wings over here and get you an egg roll over there and get you some chocolate over here and get you some popcorn over there, and just be happily, miserably full by the time you get from one end of the place to the other. So that's the thing. And it's all in walking distance. That's what I love about this town. We've lived here 30 plus years, same house, same bat channel.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming then that's both of them. I can eat and do that both in the same thing. So it's a kill two birds with one stone for real, right?
Well, it's an all-day affair, man. Just enjoy it.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll put it on the list because, we go up there every once in a while for whether it's the airport in Orlando, which I'm sure obviously is still another 30 minutes away from you, but we're up there fairly often. So we'll have to put that on the list to go take the kids up there, and it'll be fun.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, hey, diving in, tell me a little bit about what are you doing? What's this new thing that you're doing? And then I have some questions for you because I always learn something anytime I'm talking with you. But let's start with what's your new thing? What are you doing right now?
All right. So Paradox Consulting Groups actually started about 2 years ago. Back in 2000, right before 2020, right before COVID, I hired an executive coach to come in and work with me. And then I extended that to my direct reports, right? And so we ended up, over the last 5 years, having executive coaching built into our professional development budget to the tune of about $50,000 a year. That's how much I believed in it. And so as I was going through this process with this particular executive coach, they used an assessment called the Harrison assessment. You've heard of Clifton Strengths, you've heard of Disc Finders, there's these various ones. Well, the Harrison assessment uses 175 behavioral traits, right? And so it helps you For example, confident and humble, right? They're opposites, right? But there's a sweet spot in the middle. Whereas a leader, you need to be confident in what you're doing, but you also have to be humble in your approach, right? And so as we were going through these assessments, and then we were basically put on a team graph to see how the team worked together, I was like, I like this. I really like this. So I went and became certified as a Harrison assessment coach about 3 years ago. And so I'm at the age where I began to plan B, right? Not be at Foundation Academy all my life, because what I learned is what I did there. I wanted to help other Christian schools across the country. There's a lot of great coaches out there and people doing, helping people start schools and helping people with their admissions processes and whatnot. But what I learned and realized is I'm the guy that I'm kind of like the general practitioner, right? You go to the doctor and you walk in and you've got this you share everything, and he does this analysis on you and goes, you know what? You need to go see this person for an admissions, assessment. And then you come back to me with that assessment, and then I walk alongside you with it, right? Because, the problem is, information is great, but people that don't know what to do with that information, they get it, they sit it on the shelf over here, and I think, let me see, I got some stats here, right? People that do assessments, only 10% of them actually use that information as they move forward. And so it becomes a thing that you've spent a lot of this money and you haven't used it, So we want to help individual heads of schools, maybe even chairmen, understand what it's like to get that information and walk alongside them and help them implement it.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. I absolutely love the Herzog Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple of years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. The Herzog Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the Herzog Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit herzogfoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. I love that. And I would agree with you 100% that people take assessments and don't do them. I'm guilty of that myself.
Right.
Friend will tell you that I've done the DISC assessment and all these other ones. I can't even remember all of them. And I've taken at least 3 based on people saying, oh, you should do this, or the church saying, oh, this is a really good one. And you're like, oh, this is really helpful. Wow, this is great. And then you kind of just go, all right, and moving on. And maybe you see some things that talk about who you are. You are 100% correct that is something people take and then just don't touch it again.
Well, think about this. You kind of know a little bit about marketing in your world, right? And so people have a marketing assessment, right? And they get it. And the leadership gets this marketing assessment, and then they go, okay, I'm going to use A and B and C. But they've really only shared that information with their direct reports. The rest of the staff, even the teachers, have no idea about the implementation of the things that they want to do here. And so the lack of communication, the lack of the ability to cast vision, to get the buy-in from the entire organization that this change, that really is what you're doing, leading change, it's not communicated clearly. And so we're helping leaders understand how to do that. Again, that's what I was blessed with having the opportunity to do at Foundation Academy, because I did not know anything about education, but I love leading people.
And I can tell because you're very good at it.
Thank you.
We have a thing here at School Success where we'll do report cards, we call them, for schools on how are you doing. More so it's very, very marketing focused. That's like the what we hone in on. But we say, like, let's see how you're actually doing. Let's give you give report cards out to all your students. Let's give you a report card on your school and see like, how are you doing? And so, yeah, we do grade them on like your marketing, your online presence, all these different things. And then they get it. And the goal is like, hey, here you go, take it. And then you could either try and fix it all yourself if you want to, which is rare, or you say, oh, can you help us fix this? And there's the different pieces that we can help them fix. But we've done many reports where we give it to them. We're like, yep, this is great. Thank you. We're going to take care of it. And that's very rare because they're just like, wow, we have a lot of work to do, but it's overwhelming for them. Typically it's a very overwhelming process to see all these things we know how to do, but we only have one person who knows maybe how to do social media, or we only have one person who knows how to do a website. And so obviously having somebody like yourself, you get a report and you're like, oh my goodness, where do I even start? And that's, I think, one of the biggest pieces is people don't even try to start. And I think you can come in then and say, hey, let's start with this one thing, get some momentum, and then get into the rest of them. Is that kind of the flow that happens?
Oh, absolutely. That's the question, right? One of the things I work on is helping school leaders identify the question, and then help them identify the answer to the question. My approach isn't to come in and tell you what you need. Actually, most people probably know what they need. They just don't want to come to grips with it, or they're worried that a little insecurity. I haven't done this well. I don't want people to think I'm a dummy, not that they are. They just are using the wrong approach. But I come in and help them identify the question, where do I start, right? And it's the overall arching space, the entire space of the school, whether it's finances, whether it's the admissions department, or the big four that I talk about, which is faith, fine arts, academics, and athletics, right? I mean, all Christian schools thrive around those four pillars, but there's this operational thing that has to take place for those four pillars to be successful. And if you haven't sat back and took the time to look at your operations, to look at your people, to look at the training, to look at the data, and you go, well, wait a minute, I'm not training anybody. I don't have any data. Where do I start? And you're wondering why your admissions isn't going as well, or enrollment's not going as well, because the school down the street is. And the thing is, everybody that's walked in the school down the street loves the culture. They love the vibe. They've made this relationship, the introduction, that's just like, this place there's something special. I want to be here. Versus I've went to some schools where the admissions director is like, yes, we're a great school and Johnny needs to be here. Okay.
Sign me
up. Right. So, leadership really needs to sit back and identify, and it gets to the basics. And again, I'm at the age where I go to the doctors a lot, so I love using these doctor analogies. But you go to the chiropractor and you say, oh, my shoulder hurts, and they start working on your hip and some other areas to get everything in a line. And when they come in and just say that, well, we're not doing good here. Let's just take a minute and let me ask you questions about all these areas. And then they start realizing, when's the last time you sat down with your leadership team and talked about your mission, your vision, and your core values of the organization? When's the last time you sat down and talked to your leadership team about your core values? Have you put your core values in a story that you've communicated to your direct reports that kind of make you vulnerable, which then they go, I want to hang out with this guy because he's real, or gal, excuse me, and then vice versa. Have them. Now you've created a community, a culture where people not only are working together, but they know each other. They understand, what makes people tick. Half of my direct report meetings, they'd come in with stacks of paper. I wouldn't spend hardly any time looking at that stack of papers. I really wanted to know, Mitch, hey man, how's the kids? Didn't, and I don't know your children, but it'd be, isn't little Johnny playing, didn't you say something about softball or, little league or yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden, this communication, and it's not just an act, right? That's the other thing. People can see through that. So as a leader, be real, be honest, be sincere. They use that word trust a lot, which is key. But I think they trust you because they see you love them, right?
Yeah. Are you coming in mainly working with saying, hey, we're going to fix or help this one person? Or are we helping fix the organization? Like, what's the focus? Yes. Is typically, I'm assuming the person, or all the above?
Yeah. So kind of what you end up doing is spending a lot of time. One of the processes with executive coaching, directly is with that head of school, president, superintendent, and spending time with them and finding out what they need to be better, which then in turn helps make the organization better. And then, that then comes back to going, okay, we've identified some things here. And so my recommendation is, and for your next school year's budget, we should plan on doing X, Y, and Z with the team, right? So it's kind of that assessment that helps set up a long-term relationship to continue to build, because this isn't a one and done. If you think executive coaching is a one and done, you're going to fail. It's just like the assessment. You hire the marketing assessment, you hire Rick Newberry, right, to come in and do, admissions assessments, and free shout out to Rick Newberry. And, he comes in and he gives you, 300 slides and tells you what to do. And it's so overwhelming, you don't do any of it and you don't follow up. You don't follow up with the coach and sit down and go, hey, Dave, man, I got all this stuff, man. Help me navigate through this. Well, what is it you really want to accomplish here? What, out of everything he gave you, what is it you want? And you would say, well, shouldn't most people know that? Well, you got to remember, they're overwhelmed with the everyday activities of students misbehaving, parents upset, board members asking questions, teachers might have a problem with something. The lunch vendor didn't have enough lunch for every kid. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And they have to navigate the everyday experience of running the school, and then try to navigate this side of it. I think when you get into schools with 1,000 or more, they're layered pretty good in their organizational structure. But even then, that individual needs a different coaching approach / mentoring approach than the head of school of, let's say, 300 to 500 students.
Okay. This reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but I want to get your take on it too. Have you ever heard of the Solomon paradox before?
No.
So I heard this last year, and it really, obviously as a Christian, got me thinking about it. So it said the Solomon paradox is, and I'm going to not explain this great, but it was saying Solomon is known as one of the wisest people to ever live. But yet he made some really stupid choices in his life and wasn't did not do great in all the things. But he was really good at giving advice to other people. And so the premise of the Solomon paradox is Solomon's really good at giving advice, but not exactly good at following his own. And so it's saying your internal Solomon is listen to whatever advice you would have given Dave in that situation, tell it to yourself and actually listen to your own self. Because a lot of times we know what we're supposed to do or what we should do in a situation. We just don't do it unless somebody else comes in and says it. And you're like, yeah, you're right, I need to do that. We're like, wait, but you already knew you were supposed to do that. So it's saying your inner Solomon needs to just listen to what your gut's telling you or what your head's telling you. And again, I probably didn't explain that properly great, but I thought it was really interesting when you talk a wise man who actually didn't do great in a lot of different areas.
Well, it's, that's so spot on, because it's kind of like teenagers and employees. You can sit there and tell them, the best thing to do is to drive on the right side of the road, not on the left side on a 2-lane road, because the cars are coming at you. But yet Mitchell Slater is going to come in as the expert on driving and tell the kids the exact same thing. And it's the lights go off, oh my gosh, it's the greatest thing, right? And the same thing happens with staff. That's why I believe schools excel when leadership brings in an outside person that spends time with the leader to understand the message that wants to be communicated. Because at the end of the day, that's what I want to help them do. Help them or myself communicate their message down the road, right? There's a lot of times I've brought folks in and organizations in, and I spend some time with them. I'm going, listen, this is what I've said for the last 2 years. And it's kind of like going in one ear and out the other. They go, really? Because that's what we're going to tell them. And then they come and they tell them, and they're going, the light bulbs are going off, and I'm going, but that's human nature, to your point, right? That's human nature.
So in all your years of doing this, obviously you've picked up on things. You're like, man, schools really shouldn't probably be doing this, or they maybe should be doing this instead. And maybe it's how we do things. It's how we word things. There's obviously probably a lot of different layers. What are some things for the school leaders listening to go, man, if you guys are doing this, I would highly encourage you to pivot and say it this way or do it this way that you've seen in your years in education?
Well, from a definition point of view, when I got the Foundation Academy, one of the things we stopped saying was kindergarten graduation, middle school graduation, elementary graduation. Because when you hear the word graduation, normally that means you're finished, right? And the idea is you want the family and that student to be pre-K through 12th. So you don't want to allow the family to get this little thought in their mind because their student just graduated that what other school should we look at? And it does work in the psyche. There's that little voice. Well, they just finished. So maybe. So we went to kindergarten promotion, not graduation, right? So I would tell schools to look around at the terminology that they're using and think of all of it and from the point of view of retaining a family from K to 12 or wherever they're at, because that's the biggest enrollment field, and the best one is that internal, working on keeping your families there, right? Instead of trying to market so much on external and growing the school, it's retention is the biggest thing, right? And I think the other thing is going back for leaders, going back to looking around at their staff and quit putting people in boxes that you think they're in, right? Until you've sat down and got to understand that really this individual wants to, they're a math teacher right now, but they got aspirations of being an athletic director one day, because they're also a football coach. And so one of the biggest things I did was help people accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. Did that mean I've lost a few employees? Yeah, they went on to fulfill their dreams. But you know what? It was rewarding that Foundation Academy, Dave Buckles had an opportunity to help people better themselves. During the way, it bettered the culture of the school because other people saw that, wow, you really care for the individual. And that's where I always say people over processes, people over programs. I put the employees and I want to teach leadership how to do that. Because here again, who would have thought a guy like me 12 years ago that came from the construction industry would be a guy that spent the last 11 years in the education industry? Because I didn't lead construction companies. I don't lead schools. I lead people. And the only way you can effectively lead a person is to get to know them.
And we're all in the people business, whether we know it or not. You're
right,
in the people business. Especially Christians, we're definitely in the people business. It's kind of like what we're all supposed to be doing.
Right.
So I love the thing about the saying promotion instead of graduation. That's a great, words are powerful. Obviously, words have so much weight and merit that we use. And I think sometimes we throw them around without thinking about, how would that come across? And you just the marketing piece of that to go, what could that be doing in the psyche, as you mentioned, of somebody who hears the word graduation going, well, I mean, look for the other Christian school in the area so they get the next one. And it's way easier to keep somebody than to get a new person. It costs a lot less to be able to keep existing people and keep them happy than try and get a new family in to learn your culture and learn what you guys are doing as a school. So I love that. What are some other things that come to mind when it comes to just ideas or strategy, things that schools can be doing for success that you maybe saw either you guys doing at Foundation or other schools saw, man, that's a really good idea that, we should adopt. Like one of the things I saw that I thought was a fun idea, and I've told clients to try it, is doing a kindergarten signing day. It's just super cute. And it was like a really good marketing thing where they have the incoming kindergartners come in and they put it up just like a college signing day where they pick their college and the kids are huge pencil in their hand and they sign that they're signing up for this school at kindergarten. And what a cool picture to look at later, especially if they finish out 12 years there. But I saw that one. I thought that was a good idea. And actually a client just texted me last week with something they saw on Instagram. There was some, I don't think it was a high school. I think it was a middle school. They had the kids make a video for their future self. And so they recorded it at 6th grade and they said hey, this is what you're into right now. This is what I want you to tell your future self, blah, blah, blah. And then they showed it to the kids in 12th grade as they were graduating, watching their 6th grade self talk to them. And that was a really cool marketing video that they could use later on. So I love stuff like that. Yeah. Obviously, I don't think people have enough patience to do something like that because you have to wait 6 or 7 years for that to happen. But what are some other Dave Buckle wisdom that you can share with us?
Well, one of the things we had to do, because we were a multi-campus location, right? So we had 2 elementary campuses, and then we had a middle school, high school campus. So we had to be very intentional on things. For example, we would send our seniors over, all right, during the kindergarten promotion, and the kindergartners would walk between the seniors while the seniors were in cap and gowns, right? And so, and then, so those were some things we did there. The other thing, again, was the buildings, the way the buildings are located on our middle school and high school campus. Middle school's in one building, high school's on another building. You have to go through a courtyard. And so what we did is we lined up the high school students, and the upcoming 9th graders walked through the courtyard to be celebrated as, again, part of going from middle school to high school. It's just part of that experience, right? And so internally, again, multi-campus and definitions is what do you do internally to retain those families and those type of things that create memories? The other thing we would do is senior lunches that were sponsored by families, and we would do those once a month, and they would be themed. I mean, we had the McDonald's Hamburglar come, and we had Happy Meals for the seniors. You thought that would have been the most craziest thing. And the parents loved coming once a month on campus with their seniors and doing this type of things. And the whole thing was, each lunch that we did was centered around what was like for them when they were in first grade or kindergarten, right? And so those are the type of things you did. And man, the families in the 11th, 10th grade would go, I can't wait for my child to be a senior to experience that, right? So those type of things.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out, classreach.com. Now, back to the show. Man, people business, making it special, making it memorable. It's also very shareable when you do fun things like that. What are some of the, with your, well, I guess real quick before we jump into one of my 2 final questions for you, what any others that come to mind for any ideas or strategies, schools listening going, man, I feel like we need to do better. There's more room for us to improve. What are some maybe things off the top of your head that you'd share before I got 2 more questions for you?
I think if we talk about staff, right, never mind students, because here again, staff is important, teachers. Keeping the teachers, it's a highly competitive market right now. And so what are you doing to protect the culture that your teachers are in? And each one of my principals would do things. Well, I gave them each, I think it was like $3,000 a year to spend on stuff. So, they'd be having ice cream sandwiches on a Friday, and they would come up with some, little nifty little saying like, I forget them, but they'd go and find them on social media, but they did that and allowing a little bit of money to do that. It took the time. I mean, we had water balloon fights over Christmas break with our teachers, right? It was like, come on, let's, so allow everybody to drop, their guard, and just allow them to be a kid. So my word of advice to them is to find out, because every culture is different. Every leader is different. What are you going to allow to happen? What kind of leeway? What do you have in your budget? But again, get outside the box. Quit being the same school you were yesterday, and to leaders, don't pay attention to any other school around you. We sit here in Central Florida with probably, I think there's 8 private schools within a 5-mile radius. I mean, it's a competitive market right here. And 10 years ago, we weren't even on the map, but we didn't pay attention to what they did. We measured our success against who we were every day, every week, every month, and improved on that, right? And that's how in 5 years we began to pass everybody up. I mean, enrollment grew, people were coming, waiting lists happened, and all the schools were going, what are you doing? I says, we're just getting better at who we are. We appreciate what you're doing. Our facilities were subpar. You had the artificial turf, you had the shiny buildings, but we had a culture that people wanted to live in and be a part of, right? That culture, that is the thing, right? So focus on those things. Have fun. It's not all business.
And don't they also say, I might butcher this, is it culture eats strategy for breakfast or something? Is that what it is?
That's it. A buddy of mine had a podcast series for a while that's titled that.
It's a good, I mean, culture is, it's a big one that I think a lot of people, they don't have. And you have to be, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but like culture has to be thought through and built. It doesn't just like, maybe sometimes accidentally it happens, but you can't just typically have great culture. It has to be crafted, it has to be thought through, and it has to be protected as well. Like, with that, agree or disagree on that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, here again, our pre-plan and our post-plan and our Christmas party, right? Our year-end party, the church, here you go. Church-school relationships. This is what you do. Pastors, if you're listening, the church needs to throw a luncheon during pre-planning for the entire school where the pastor has an opportunity to share his vision as the church, because you're a ministry of, but they themed it because our pastor was so much fun. We would have Star Wars themed lunches. We had Hawaiian themed lunches, I mean, we had hula dancers and flamethrowers, right? We had the Bugle Boys, or the Bugle, the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boys from Company B girls singing, right? I mean, and we would have this fun again, but the church did that, right? And so when you shared what the church did for the school as a church-school relationship, that also said they care enough for us to do this for us, So just a little, yeah.
Love it. Well, last two final questions for you. First one, tell us a little bit about Paradox and how people can get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you or having a conversation about what you do.
Gotcha. Yes, so unique website address because everybody had Paradox. So it's Paradoxon, PARADOXONS.com is our website address, or Dave B at paradoxons.com. What we do here is, first and foremost, I want to be able to coach and mentor heads of schools and even chairmen of boards and identify a strategy and help them walk through that strategy. We do financial assessments. We do long-range planning. When I say we, it's really I. I'm just so used to using the word we. We have a realtor in town. He says, when you call Dave Dorman, you get Dave Dorman. Well, when you call Paradox Consultants, if it deals with financial or operational, you get Dave Buckles. But I also have phenomenal partnerships with industry leaders in Kingdom Education, BJU Press, and others in marketing like yourself, right? And so that I know what I know, and then I know who I need to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, you need to meet this person so you can help them out, right?
Awesome. All about who you know, right?
There you go.
And I know most of this has all been advice, but I always ask the same question to everybody to end it out. If you had, I don't know if you have any more to give though, Dave. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But if you had to share one more piece of advice with those listening, what would the piece of advice be?
Slow down. If leaders are watching this, take time for self. I was at an executive retreat, a CEO executive retreat, and I heard this. Do you know what 1,440 represents?
Mm-mm.
It's how many minutes are in 24 hours.
Okay.
All right. You can't make a minute longer. You can't. And you can't make a minute shorter. But what you can do is maximize the minute and make the most of it. So do that for yourself. Find a way, create a habit if you're not, to get your day started where it's just you and God, slowing down. Turn the notifications off on your phone. Put the airplane mode on if you're like me, because I use my Spotify and stuff for my music. Put some instrumental music on, and then somebody asked me today at lunch when I was giving this advice. He goes, well, what happens when things pop in your mind? I said, it takes about a month and a half for that to stop. But while you're starting, just write it down. because you won't quit thinking about it. But come back to just being present in the moment. Because when you learn how to be present in the moment by yourself, you'll be present in the moment with your direct reports. And when you're present and in the moment with your direct reports, you won't find yourself wanting to look at the phone when it dings when you're trying to have face-to-face conversations with probably one of the most important people around you. And that's someone who is your direct report.
That's good, Dave. Appreciate it, man. I always learn more and more after I talk with you and have conversations with you. So I'm very excited about your new venture. I know it's been a couple of years in the making with Paradox, but wishing you and anybody that's associated or part of you, and obviously your wife, nothing but the best as you guys jump into this new world that God has for you, man. But I'm grateful to know you and grateful to have your friendship and watch your business grow.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate the time. And like you said, let's see how God can use us to work together, changing Christian education.
Amen. Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to Dave for taking time and being on the podcast again. And I'm wishing him and his new business nothing but the best as it continues to grow and help other Christian schools and Christian school leaders across the country. And as always, I'm hoping you guys were able to take at least one thing from today's episode that you can take back to your school or yourself to make yourself or your school better than you are right now. Now, before you guys go, I know I sound like a broken record, but I got to make sure you guys know of our 3 free resources we have available here at School Success just for you. The first one is the podcast. You're listening to it right now. Weekly episodes dropping at the moment every Monday morning. So make sure you are tuning back in for those. And if you guys are loving the content, please share it with some of the other school educators you guys are with and spread it around. We obviously do this because we love you guys and what you guys are doing to help educate the next generation. So share it, like it, subscribe it, review it. If you're loving the content, we would greatly appreciate that. And then on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com, in the top right-hand corner, we have a weekly email that we send out called the School Success Report. And it is just different articles our team has put together or found online to help make you more and more successful. And that comes every single week right into your inbox. We want to make sure you guys aren't missing out on that as well. So subscribe to the School Success Report today. And then lastly, the third one is our free Facebook community called School Success Makers. We'd love you guys to go join that group, get to know other school leaders in the area or in the country. The majority of all of them are in the United States that are in the community right now. Ask questions, connect, get to know people. Community is such an incredible piece of our, honestly, just living in our beings. And one of the things you need to be doing is connecting with other people in the education space. And so we are helping to craft that inside of that community. I'm personally in there, and I would love to see you in there as well. And then we will be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.